Hi, lovely booktubers. I'm Debs. Welcome back to my channel, Raina Read Stuff. I am here in the book shack. It's Tuesday. I'm going to do a tag on a Tuesday, like Tag Tuesday. How efficient is that? Well, it's more efficient than I usually am anyway. I am going to do the Shakespeare Journey Tag because it's shaketember and it's just starting, which makes a change from me doing things when they're finished. The shaketember tag was created last year by the Shakespeare Journey Tag was created by the shaketember team last year. So that's Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading, and Nicole at A Day of Small Things, and Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse. I was tagged by my lovely friend Pat at Book Chat with Pat. There are 11 prompts and then an invitation to tag. Now, say right from the beginning, I've got no idea who's done this tag and who hasn't. And Pat has tagged a load of people who are people that I would normally tag. So I might not tag people. But if you want to do it. And tag me. Because I'd like to see what your answers are. Anyway, prompt number 1. What was your first experience of Shakespeare, of reading Shakespeare, and what was it like? Well, like many other people, my first experience of reading Shakespeare was at school, and it was horrible. That's the short answer. Um, you know what it's like when you're at school. I think possibly they introduce Shakespeare to the wrong classes sometimes, and possibly too young as well. I think you need to be interested in language and literature, or at least be open to hearing new things. Our class was, we were like a zoo. Let's face it, we were like a zoo. Um, we did also go off to see, we read Othello. I read Othello for my O levels, as they were then, which are the exams you take when you're 16. And then I did do um, English language and English literature at night school because I'd already started work when I was 18, and did Othello again for that. And the second experience was much better than the first because by the time you get to doing, particularly if you are doing night school, you've chosen to do it and therefore you're interested. Whereas our poor English teacher was just preaching to a class full of heathens when we were 15, 16. Anyway, that was my first experience of Shakespeare. Has the reading of a Shakespeare play ever brought you to tears? Is question 2. No, I don't think it has. No, sorry. What scene was it and where were you when it happened? Well, it didn't happen, so let's swiftly move on to number 3. Are there any people who've played a significant role in your Shakespeare journey? Um, I think there are. When I moved around schools a lot when I was younger, um, and the most difficult move for me was I did almost exactly half of my senior school in one school and then moved to a different school. And at my first senior school, I'd been members of clubs and organisations and things like that, and sports teams. Um, Moving to another school halfway through the third of 5 years at that school, at senior school. Um, all of those things were already established, and it's hard enough ingratiating yourself into a group of 14-year-old girls who've known each other for years without trying to oust them from a sports team or a theatre group or whatever. So I pretty much avoided doing that. But outside of school, I was a member of a youth theatre company and a member of the athletics club and things like that. And I hadn't moved far enough away to stop doing those things, so I was still doing those things. And an English teacher I had um, came to see a youth theatre performance, and we were doing Aristophanes the Birds, and I didn't know she was going. She didn't know I was in it. But afterwards, at school, she asked me to um, take the part of Rosalind in As You Like It, and so that was great. Do you have a favourite book or film about Shakespeare? I don't. I haven't read much. I've read more of Shakespeare than about Shakespeare. One of the things I did enjoy for Historathon last year was this: Shakespeare's Restless World by Neil MacGregor, and it's an unexpected history in 20 objects. And it looks at how it takes these objects and it looks at how an audience of Shakespeare's would use them, react to them, etc., etc. It's very good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I also have an awful lot of Oxford, a very short introduction series, and I've got loads of them. I pick them up secondhand whenever I find them, so I've got some really weird and wonderful. But I had a look through them, and I found this. So I'm currently midway through this as part of this year's Shaketember. Which character in Shakespeare most resembles you, and in what ways? I was going to say Katerina in A Taming of the Shrew in the first half of the play rather than the second half of the play. But I've opted for Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing. Um, she's quite bright, she's quite witty. Um, that sounds very big-headed. She's also a bit of a bag, can't keep her mouth shut. That sounds more like me. I like Much Ado About Nothing, I find it very entertaining. Which play would you like to see performed in a theatre and why? Any, really. I've never seen Hamlet on stage, live on stage. I've seen films. What I used to like, where I used to live, there used to be, well, there probably still is, an arts centre. It was a relatively small stately home that was turned into an arts centre, and the grounds were retained. And they used to do amazing outdoor theatre productions where not only was it outdoors, and I've seen outdoor theatre productions of Shakespeare before, with a stage and people sitting on deck chairs and eating their lovely picnics, but this one moved. So it was a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and you wandered around the gardens of this stately home with the cast, and that was amazing. That was really good fun. But as for on stage, I've seen a really bad production of Othello when we were doing it for studying it for O levels, they carted us all off, and it wasn't a big theatre. I can't even remember where it was, but they'd actually blacked someone up to play Othello, and they'd forgotten to do his hands. So midway through his first scene, someone chucked a pair of gloves on stage, and he fumbled about picking them up off the stage and putting them on. It's all a bit embarrassing, really. Where am I? What actor throughout history would you most like to have seen play Hamlet while in his prime? Well, that's a tough one. I think of the people I have seen play Hamlet, um, David Tennant was probably among my favourites. Probably was my favourite, actually. I'm a bit of a fan. Um, I did try and have a think about this, and the only person I could come up with was the same person Pat came up with, Sir Ian McKellen. I think that would be great. I'd love to see him, to have seen him do that live on stage. Uh, 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 uh. Deliver your favourite speech or soliloquy from a Shakespeare play. I think among my favourite lines are Iago, who is just the best villain in Othello. Um, and he's trying to come up with a plan to discredit Desdemona in the eyes of Othello. Basically, he hates Othello and he wants him to suffer, and he's decided that this is the way to make him suffer. And he says, "Thus do I ever make my fool my purse, for I my own gained knowledge should profane, if I would time expend with such a snipe, that for my sport and profit I hate them all. And it's thought abroad that twixt my sheets has done my office. I know not if it be true, but I for mere suspicion in that kind will do as if for surety. He holds me well, the better shall my purpose work on him. Cassio's a proper man. Let me see now. To get his place and to plume up my will in double knavery, how? How? Let's see. In double knavery. After some time, to abuse Othello's ear, that he is too familiar with his wife. He hath a person and a smooth depose to be suspected, framed to make women false. Oh, I've lost it. The more is of a free and open nature, that thinks men honest that but seem to be so, and will as tenderly be led by the nose as asses are. I like that. It's not very nice, but I like it. The other thing I really like, um, Beatrice and Benedict in Much Ado About Nothing. Starting with Beatrice. Against my will, I am sent to bid you to come to dinner. Fair Beatrice, I thank you for your pains. I took no more pains for those thanks than you take pains to thank me. If it had been painful, I wouldn't have come. I love that. It's just so fun. Um, right, where are we now? Do any of Shakespeare's plays intimidate you? If yes, what play and why? Not anymore. They used to, but they don't anymore. I've read a fair few. I haven't read by any stretch of the imagination, all of them. There's some I still would like to read, and some that I'm going to read. This shaketember. I haven't read The Tempest, for example, and that's one of the prompts. So I might go with that. What tips would you give to intimidated readers coming to Shakespeare for the first time? I would listen to it on audiobook and follow along with a physical copy, I think. It sounds so much better because obviously they were meant to be spoken, these words. They weren't necessarily meant to be read on a page. So I think reading them on a page, for students particularly, it's a bit harsh. Show the performance. And that way you can see how you can hear how the sentences are meant to be structured and hear the intonation in the actors' voices. I think that's a lot easier. The other thing I would say for uh, people who aren't necessarily keen and enthusiastic about reading Shakespeare is look up the insults, because the insults are really quite delicious in places. I'm sure you can probably get a book on Shakespeare's best insults, but for those who don't want to, aren't keen on reading a play initially, find a book of the insults because they are great fun. The other thing, there's a brilliant BBC series a while ago called Upstart Crow, and it was written and starred David Mitchell. If you can get that anywhere, you can certainly get it on iPlayer, but I don't know if you can get it on any other streaming services. That gives you a good introduction. It's funny. I thought it was hilarious, and it ties in Shakespeare with jokes from modern day, like Shakespeare's commute from London to Stratford, for example. It's very good, very good. I would recommend it. What is your favourite Shakespeare play and why? I tell you what I don't like. I don't like Romeo and Juliet. I think that priest's got a lot to answer for. Um, I know that's quite controversial. I know it's meant to be the most romantic thing in the world, and I think it's dreadful. No, I don't think it's dreadful. I just don't like it, really. I do like, I do like Othello very much. Um, I like Hamlet, but I absolutely love Much Ado About Nothing. I think it's great. I enjoyed reading Antony and Cleopatra last year. Oh, I also enjoyed reading Richard III last year as well. But no, I think Much Ado About Nothing. Oh, and A Midsummer Night's Dream. That's always fun. So, that's all the questions. Um, Sarah. Yes, I think I'll tag Sarah. Sarah, I can't remember what your channel's called. It's called Bells. Oh, here it is. Yes, Bell's Library. Sarah, I'm tagging you. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to Pat for the tag. I hope everybody who takes part in Shaketember has a lovely idea. And if you are taking part in Shaketember, consider doing your Shakespeare Journey Tag because it's fun. I shall speak to you soon. Bye for now.